Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Business Driven Nerd Podcast by Shub. My name is Peyton Craig, and I am here with my co-conspirator and partner, Luis Vinay, the founder and CEO of Shub.
Yeah.
We also have a special guest here as well, and it is Pedro. Today's topic will be LLMs, but AI in general as well. And we're going to dive deep and go wide with this topic.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Welcome. And Pedro, how about you explain your role in Shub and your expertise and a little bit of your track record with AI?
Hello, guys. As everyone said, my name is Pedro. I'm a data engineer slash Swiss knife engineer here at Chubb. I've been kind of somewhat skeptical about AI usage in general until I've got addicted to it. I think that's what that's the path that everybody's going through right now, and that's it.
Awesome. So let's start us off with a very general question here. What is AI and what do we currently understand about it?
Perfect. I think this is a really good question to set the terminology and everything, so we can start from there. Right now, we have two different kinds of things that we do which are related to AI. First one is the one we had before the large language models, which is the machine learning, the ML. And those are basically just training models to react on data with some kind of output. Either it may be predictions, it may be actions, as in reinforcement learning, for example, but we won't dive on that today. Today, our focus will be on large language models, which is what everybody knows and was made famous by some companies that you know that I won't mention here.
Oh, okay. Pedro, why don't you talk about what AI enhances for you yourself as well as the team that you are among?
Perfect. Well, right now, what I think AI is enhancing the most for the work that I'm doing is mostly manual and repetitive labor. Like that's what is really enhancing me the most right now. And mostly when the AIs I'm using are good enough, I'm way more focused on architecturing than actually writing code because I'm able to guide how to write the code the way I want without having a lot of okay, I'm writing. For example, I really switch languages a lot, so I don't have to really aware of some minor Golang details. But I know a Golang is a compiled language. It handles memory for me, but I already know how to avoid certain common pitfalls or when dealing with data structures and etc. So I don't have any unwanted memory issues with my program, for example.
So you're saying repetitive task. Is this like repetitive tasks like debugging? Is this design? Is it documentation? Does it include all of those things? Could you give
Yes.
us like a little bit of a, I guess like something with greater detail or an example?
Yeah, I think it excels in everything that you just mentioned. But when designing, I really need to focus. I need to have a general idea of what I'm designing before consulting with the AI, for example. Like the AI is not doing the whole design for me.
So which part exactly you think that AI helps you the most today?
Yeah, right now, if I use AI to just help me create a general picture for me on the design that I want to achieve, I discuss with it because sometimes I don't have all the context that I need, or maybe there's some error or some other idea that I'm missing. So I use it a lot on double checking my idea.
Okay, you ask the AI to code it for you.
Yeah.
Where do you go from there?
After implemented or before.
Once you have that code,
Basically what I do is I do the planning, okay, we are understood that. Then I get to the coding part, but mostly I always try to, okay, code this feature for me, and I try to go into the smaller details of the coding, for example. So in order to go to these smaller details, I need to have some background on software engineering and software engineering good practice, design patterns for coding. And most of those are general for all the languages. And sometimes there are some language design patterns that are specific for Golang, for example, other for Python.
So you mentioned something important because you asked the AI to code in languages that you are, let's say, familiar with and you understand good coding practices, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't know anything about, let's say that you know nothing about Java, I'm grabbing an old one, or COBOL, whatever. So you wouldn't ask an AI to write code in a language you don't have knowledge about. Is that correct?
Yes, I really avoid doing that. Like sometimes we may end up needing to do it, and
Of course.
it's okay depending on the seniority level of the person who is asking for.
Yes. And
But
why wouldn't you do that? Why you
yeah,
avoid
for
that?
example, I don't know everything I need to know on COBOL, for example, in order to be certain that my code is safe. Like
Good.
my code may run, I may add tons of testing, for example, because I do that for all my codes, but I
Yes.
don't know COBOL's internal, so I may be doing something really wrong, which may lead to issues later,
Yes.
and I don't have a really good way on verifying it.
We are entering something that I have to admit I have a little bias. I run a company, so accountability, risk. I have people vibe coding, asking an AI, write me a piece of software that does this, and that, and follow this pattern or whatever, and the AI writes the code for you.
The term itself, vibe coding, it started from people who didn't know nothing about code and asked the
Mm-hmm.
AI to code itself for you. And I think the most common pitfall here for AI, for LLMs, AI, is you as the one using the AI, you need to know what you don't know. So if
Exactly.
for example, I think I'm going to do a really good example here. Right now, I'm doing some house renovations. So I have people I hired to help me do so because I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah,
I did a
exactly.
lot of plumbing, a lot of
You
smaller.
know what you want
Uh,
to accomplish, but you don't know how
yeah,
to get there. Good. So going back a little bit about avoiding using AI where you don't know what you don't know, or there are risks that you cannot assess completely. You don't know what might go wrong, and you don't know where to look.
yeah. I think one good example is we can go back to COBOL, for example. I
Yeah.
know most of the risks associated with uh, most of the programming languages. So, for example,
Mm-hmm.
we may have some a really common issue with Golang, and we had this with
Mm-hmm.
human code at the company,
Yeah.
is dynamic memory allocation. We had an issue regarding that on Golang. We were able to figure that out during benchmarks, and we fixed it. I can ask the AI, okay, give me a full rundown of possible issues that we may arrive with dynamic data allocation on COBOL.
Yeah.
But even if I have this list, I'm not able to verify if that list is accurate
Mm-hmm.
enough for us because I don't know
Yes.
COBOL, for example.
And one of the things that, again, remembering my role is I kind of worry about or think about is once you have AI writing a huge amount of code, how do you maintain and debug that code? Because if you ask an AI to completely write an application and you end up with a good chunk of code, for what you say is that you still have to know what you're doing to be able to maintain your code and assess potential risks and problems with that code. Am I correct?
Yes. And I think that worry is what sold me to AI because I think the first time that you ask, okay, I have implemented a feature, can you write the test for me? Oh man, that's amazing. I think every
Oh,
software engineer fall in love when they see the AI implementing its tests. But the thing is, you need to know which test to implement. And in
yes.
order to do that, You need to know
Yes.
software engineering best practice, and you need to know your product.
When you talk about like what it enhances, what AI enhances, what the benefits are, is it only time? Is it only like you're able to do more now that you're leveraging these tools? Your tasks are shorter, or is there another benefit to you leaning into these tools the way that you're describing?
Yeah, I think there are multiple levels of AI enhancement that you can achieve. I think the first one is not about being having more productivity. I think it's towards having a better life.
Would you say that AI saves you from doing the legwork or the grind part of your work where you have to write the same code that you probably wrote 1 million times before? That's not complex, but it takes time to write, to structure, to debug. Would you say that the quality of life that you gain, it's around that?
AI is able to help me have a clearer mind so I can focus just on designing and reviewing code.
So what it saves you, it's context switching. So you
Exactly.
go from thinking on how everything's connect to something very specific that is writing the code. And I'm absolute believer that context switching in our jobs, it's the most wasteful thing that we do is go from one task that is thinking about a problem and going to another task that is writing software and code that is a different kind of problems altogether to solve the task that we do that consumes our head. So it's really interesting that you mentioned that because I never thought of that. And if you use AI to write a code, you keep your head in the same space that it was before, how to solve the problem and not actually write the code.
Exactly.
And I have a couple of questions about the code that AI writes. That is, once the AI produces code, how good is the code that an AI produce in terms of a human maintaining that code afterwards?
I think the question is not like who is the person using the AI, which is what is that person's seniority. I think that's the question because, for example, imagine you have a factory and you need to and you construct bricks. That's what you do, and you have bricks in a lot of colors. So a junior developer can have an endpoint for each brick color, and a senior can have the color of the brick be a parameter. That's the
Yeah.
same for the AI. You need to tell it, okay, write a code that is general enough and etc. You need to give all the details. If it's a really smart model, it will probably try to think about it before implementing, but you cannot be sure of it on all the scenarios, for example.
So the quality of the code depending on the
The
prompt
correct
to
prompt, exactly.
the correct prompt. Someone that's an experienced engineer writes a with solutions or prevents all the pitfalls that he saw over his career. You say that the code will reflect the seniority of the person using the AI.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I have a question, and I wanted to bring us back a little bit. You guys had mentioned context switching being like a big part of how you leverage AI and allows you to think higher level things like design. Could you tie that into a business goal or business value? Like, what are businesses supposed to be doing, or what are they supposed to be changing when they think that much of their team is now leveraging these tools in the way that is producing quicker code, debugging quicker, and helping them design things more efficiently? What does this mean for business?
This is a really, 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 really good question. If we think about the cloud scenario, the infrastructure scenario, it's not necessarily about doing more infrastructure changes, but for debugging, for example, we are able to be way more direct on the solution than we were able to do that before, for example.
Wow.
So if we have an incident, for example, and we are using AI to troubleshoot an incident, we already know some of the scenarios, some of the issues we are possibly having, but the AI is able to help you have a broader perspective, a broader view of the problem while you are in the center of the hurricane.
Mm.
So the AI helps you with the context
Yeah,
of it helps you to put the problem into context. So when you are in a high stress, time sensitive situation, when sometimes you are worried, your thinking it's, let's say, impaired by your emotional response to the problem, what you're finding is that AI will help you in that scenario because it will give you context information. Otherwise, it might take you more time to find, or you might overlook that.
exactly. And all of that, I'm just talking about AI on the first level, let's say here, because if we're talking about agentic AI, for example, we can take it a step further. And for example, we are having an incident. I'm on call here, and okay, I have pager duty or something on my phone here, and I'm going to start working to see the incident. But AI already gave me a drawdown of all the issues that we're having right now. So we can
Interesting.
try to act first with AI and tackle the problem first. And if we weren't able to solve it, or at least we can be more proactive on what informations we can give and add to the developer context before he starts acting himself.
It
And that's
sounds
something really valuable, which is help you to discard scenarios. So it
Exactly.
narrows the amount of thinking you have to do. When troubleshooting, narrowing your scope, it's gold.
Can you guys help me either debunk or validate an assumption when it comes to business and AI? There's an assumption that I often see that says we are headed towards two things. One, smaller teams that are more elite because they're leveraging these tools. And then two, a flatter hierarchy. And Pedro, you had mentioned something around code review, where juniors are now becoming code reviewers leveraging AI tools. So the two assumptions here that I want you guys to at least validate or debunk is, are we headed towards flatter hierarchies, and are we headed towards smaller teams?
Yeah, let's talk about the smaller teams first. I think that is better. Personally, I find it really difficult to mentor juniors using AI. Like I really need to ask them to focus on what is the best thing that they can ask the AI or not, and when to trust the AI or not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's something that is really complicated. But for a scenario, for example, it doesn't necessarily mean less juniors here. For example, we can have more clients with the same team, and we can try to add more people to the team. So most of that depends on the use cases of each company.
So what you're saying is that AI, it's a multiplicating factor.
Yeah,
So during my career, what I always saw is that new technologies, what they do is remove grind and make adoption of technologies faster. Kubernetes, for example, is a technology that helps you coordinate a big amount of other technologies that 10 years ago you would have to do it all by hand. And what you do in, let's say, a day with Kubernetes, it took you a month doing it all by hand. So AI, it's in the same line that removes repetitiveness and removes grind work. Instead of spending your time writing code on the keyboard that might be limited your memory on how to write the structures or your ability to have all the code structure in your head, you ask an AI to do that for you, and you continue thinking on the problems and not on how to implement solutions for that. Am I in the correct ballpark for what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, I will also try thinking like, is AI making our time to market faster? And it can be a yes or no. Like, if you're using AI wrongly, your time to market, your V1 will be faster. But if the code is bad, it will have a really high rollback metric, for example.
I have a question related to this. Because you mentioned it, I would really like for you to explain or give your vision on how does a junior engineer leverage, or let's say that you have juniors in your team, how would you guide them in their AI usage?
Yeah, I think like for the juniors, I think a really good use of the AI is if you focus on using the AI as an external oracle or an initial place of discovery. For example, you can use the AI to understand a little more what you don't know from the whole context of the problem you're tackling. And from there, you can go to the actual documentations. So I think we had an example of that a few weeks ago where we were dealing with some Kafka implementations. And the developer told me, oh, okay, I asked the AI about it, and I just told me, I told him, okay, the AI may be right about it, but have you opened the actual Kafka documentation? And he told me no. And I just told me, okay, consult with the AI, but always open the documentation. Another thing that other juniors told me from other companies, people that I know, and etc., is that the people that are learning computer science today, the ones that are really good at using AI, they're using the teach feature from the AI. So a lot of AIs have something which is called guided learning,
Uh-huh.
and they are using AI to debug their problems, but right after that, they're using AI to explain everything about the problem they're dealing with. So that's really powerful. It's like having a personal tutor for you every time of the day. Personally, I'm old school. I think you need to
Yes.
suffer so you, in order to understand. Like I think you need to go through on call. You need to have your bug in production. But if you
Yeah.
can learn faster and if you can suffer less, I think that's really valuable for juniors.
And you bring up a really good point is like whether or not that suffering is necessary for the learning, you know? Because if you don't have that, like that mistake and that anxiety of like, how do I fix this? Are you actually learning when you're just being spoon fed the answers and the explanation? I think that's the point that a lot of businesses are going to have to figure out how to figure out what the results are of those two different things.
I think we're going down a better road here because I think we had too much anxiety already. So, and I think for the people graduating now, they're really stressed out already. So,
Yeah.
if we can tune that down, we achieve the right level of anxiety. So, on that, I think there's nobody like relaxed just because they're using AI.
Okay.
But one thing, I can go ahead, Liz.
No, what I wanted to say is that AI won't, at least not in the foreseeable future, replace engineers. The thought process of an engineer, AI cannot replace today.
Yeah, I think like I had some experiences in the past, and I think the AI is more ready to replace bad product owners than it is ready to replace a really good software engineer. Because the software engineer, it's not the person saying what we need to implement. It's just saying how we implement it. And what really needs thinking is the prototype hypothesis first.
Yeah.
So we really need to improve what we want to implement and how, and our decision process here, our metrics and everything before we start talking about AI. And I see a lot of companies they are firing developers when they should be hiring
Yes.
better product owners, you know?
Yeah, it was an excellent conversation. There's a lot. I have more notes here of things that we can continue discussing, but we could be here for days. And Pedro, I want to thank you for taking the time of talking with us today. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we are going to ask you to join us again because it was an excellent conversation and it's extremely interesting. And perhaps we can dive a little bit more into this topic in the future.
Yeah, the pleasure was all mine. I really love talking about AI. I got addicted to it after using like a couple of times. I was really, really skeptical. But now I see how my workflow has been enhanced by it, and I really love using it. And for sure, always be happy coming back to the podcast.
Awesome. Thanks again for joining us on this episode. We look forward to giving you guys more conversations like this and other topics in the future. Thanks again. This is the Business Driven Nerd Podcast with Shub, Luis, Pedro, and myself, Pete. Goodbye.
Okay. See you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Shub's podcast. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email us at contact@shub.cloud or via LinkedIn. Be sure to visit our blog, shub.cloud/blog, where we have an extensive library of articles covering cloud, AI, cybersecurity, and many other topics. You will find all the relevant links in the show notes. Until next time.